Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm gonna talk again a little bit about research proposal, its components, and what I expect for your first draft of proposal. A research proposal, as we learned, is a description of what you plan in the research and may have different components. But the main concept, the main components that's required for this class are introduction, literature review, research design, data analysis, and references. Some research proposals include some sections like budgeting, timeline, which are not required for this class. In this video, I'm gonna explain more about introduction and literature review. In the previous video, we discussed how you can make your research topic more specific. Here, I'm gonna go through these components of research proposal. And please send me an email anytime you have any questions or anything is not clear. And please bear with my accent. Introduction includes your topic of study. And again, as we discussed in the previous video, try to be as specific as possible. Could you mention your research topic in the form of a question? This is very important because, for example, sometimes students think very broadly, and it's so important that you can mention your research topic in a form of a question to make that more clear and specific. What is a question you would like to answer through this research? This is one very important part of introduction. The second part of the introduction is you need to explain why this topic is significant and worth studying. For example, let's talk about poverty among recent immigrants in the US. Just I'm using this as an example. There are two reasons why it's important to study this topic. You can, for example, say, there is a big number of recent immigrants in the US, and then it's important to study poverty among them. I mean, you can explain that the number is considerable and it's so important to do research about this population. Or second, you may say, for example, how poverty may affect this group of population. For example, I may claim that poverty among recent immigrants in the US affects their mental health negatively or causes post-traumatic disorder, stress, PTSD, and such significant reasons that makes your audience, that convince your audience that this topic is significant to study. And another thing is think about the purpose of your study and mention it in the introduction. Another section that's important to discuss in your introduction is definition of the main concepts. For example, in this example, you may need to explain the concept of poverty. And also, what do you mean by recent immigrants? Do you consider specific immigrants, for example, immigrants from like Mexico, or for example, I'm considering immigrants who entered the US from 5 years ago. I mean, kind of provide some kind of definition. The second component of research proposal, which is common and all research proposals should have this, is literature review. What is literature review? Is to make your research question, the purpose is to make your research question more specific and unique. It is, you need to go through the existing literature around your topic to see what studies have done already and to criticize them and to see what are missing things in this literature and try to address those missing points, those gaps. And in this way, you can contribute to the existing literature. And for this assignment, I requested you to review at least 2 different articles, and please find academic articles, academic papers. Don't go through the websites because that's not sometimes really academic or scientific research. I'm gonna ask you to go through Google Scholar or the library and find some electronic papers. There are many journals that they have free articles, papers available, and you can find them through the library or Google Scholar. And then you need to go through each of these literatures and provide 2-3 lines, a very summary and very brief points of that paper, like what is the purpose of that study, who are the population of the study, and about the method, and very brief information. And after this, you provide your critical evaluation of what did you find in this research, the research you reviewed, what is missing, or how you can do that research differently. How can you, for example, can you apply a different methodology, or can you define the concepts differently, or can you examine a different subgroup of population, or many different things that you can criticize the existing literature and build on its gaps to address the existing gaps in the existing literature. Based on this literature review and critical evaluation of it, you can narrow down your research question more and be more clear and more unique. Although it's important to replicate sometimes some research studies, for this research class or in general, we like to contribute something new. Then try to have a unique research question and state your research question in the proposal, and I'm gonna provide feedback for you to reframe and to make more clear research question, because the research question is gonna guide all your research process. Just remember, reviewing 2 papers is not enough. In the real research, you need to go through many literatures to see many different topics and then decide and develop your unique research question. But for this assignment, 2 papers for literature review is enough. Here are some notes that I would like you pay attention to them, is in general about research and about research proposal. First of all, is important to have a theoretical framework or frameworks. And usually this is something discussed under literature review, but for this assignment, it's not required. I'm not gonna make you confused with theoretical frameworks. That's just, I want to keep that as easy as possible. The second important thing is there is no concrete or linear guideline to develop a research proposal or research question. You may go back and forth over and over many times to frame and reframe your research question and to adjust different components of your research. Just remember that all components of research should be consistent with each other. Your research question, your methods, your participants, the way you are gonna analyze your data, and the conclusions, all of them should be consistent and connected, logically connected. From the beginning, you may have some ideas about all the components, about the definitions, about your participants, sampling, methods of data collection. your data analysis, you may have some ideas at the beginning. And as you move forward, you may clarify and adjust the details, and that's totally fine. And that's the way research is done. The last point I'm gonna discuss is that the way a research proposal is developed might be a little different between qualitative and quantitative studies, which is important to have some brief understanding of these two methods and how they are different at the beginning. It's good to have this understanding. First of all, I wanna let you know how you decide we are gonna do a qualitative study or a quantitative study. There are many factors playing a role in this decision. First of all is your interest. Second is your skills. Some people might be little nervous, little might not be a good word, about like statistics or any other things that might affect kind of your and make some kind of nervousness, and that's okay. But the other reasons that may influence your decision is your research question, as I told, your interest, your skills, and also the literature review. Sometimes, for example, we are going to review the literature and we see qualitative studies are missing in this specific topic. There is no qualitative study, and you may say, oh, I want to address this gap and I want to conduct a qualitative study to contribute something new in this field. In brief, I'm going to explain for you what is the difference between qualitative and quantitative methods. In a quantitative study, we usually have some hypotheses in advance and wanna test them, or we wanna numerically describe, compare some characteristics of the population. For example, again, come back to our example about poverty among recent immigrants. I might assume that those who recently immigrated to the US experience more poverty than established immigrants. This is just a hypothesis. Nobody, for example, nobody already has approved this, and I'm gonna to test this hypothesis. Then the best way to test this is to conduct a quantitative study. The other way to conduct a quantitative study is that, for example, I'm interested to see what percentage of recent immigrants live in poverty. This is kind of, I want to describe the population numerically using numbers. And then here again, a quantitative study is the excellent choice and is the appropriate decision to conduct such a study. In contrast, when I'm gonna, in a qualitative study, we may be interested to see, to examine like social processes, perceptions, life experiences, or we are interested to examine understudied topics. In this way, we are gonna use qualitative methodology, and which is very important. Actually, qualitative study focuses and highlights the importance of viewpoints of our participants, and also considers the importance of context and try to interpret the perceptions and viewpoints of our participants in the context we observe our participants. Then in such a study, when we are interested in what our participants think or what's their perception, in this way, qualitative study is a best choice. And let's come back to our example. For example, I might be interested to see how the recent immigrants handle their life in the US, or what barriers they encounter. It's a kind of examining their experience or social processes, how they seek social support, how they learn about the new environment. These kind of questions um, are really fit to qualitative study, and a qualitative study can be an appropriate method to examine such questions. I hope you found this video helpful, and please again send me an email any questions you have, and I'll be happy to answer it. Thank you.